We's on the internet. Hello, my people. How are you today? Hope you're doing well. My name is Meacham, and we are going to be hanging out here for a little bit of TOEFL practice, my people. Oh, wait, that's going to be DMCA. Hang on, there we go. There's my Chillhop. I just had to get my music set up there. There we go. One of these days, I'm going to come in here and have like the perfect audio, everything ready to go. But until that day happens, we're just going to have to, work it out one day at a time. So let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing TOEFL speaking. This goes out to you, Joe, and anybody who's taken the TOEFL. So I have been wanting to do this for a while, but I'll be honest, it's been kind of complicated because here's the thing, right? The TOEFL speaking test relies heavily on content created by ETS, which is the company that does the TOEFL. So I can't just play the audios that you need to respond to, right? Because that would be copyright audio and that would get me in trouble here. And similarly, I can't just pull up their mock exams, that even though we paid for them, because again, unlicensed use of material. I learned this the hard way with our SAT program videos. I made 5 reading videos about the SAT and about how you could use the SAT to, practice your reading and stuff. And I was giving people sort of classes on this platform about the SAT and the readings and doing each type of reading, a scientific, a historical, and a fictional literature and all that stuff. So as I was doing those, I was thinking, okay, we got this under control. We're cool. And, people seem to like them. It was going well. And then College Board went and submitted a takedown request and knocked all of my videos out. Literally knocked them all out. So they said, oh, it's copyright material, blah, blah, blah. So basically, I'm trying not to get in trouble today. That's kind of the goal. So hopefully we don't have that problem. I believe I have come up with a clever way to work around this issue, as you will see. So let's talk a little bit about this TOEFL speaking test, what it involves, what you can expect when you take the test. All right. So first of all, let's start with this right here. Just a little overview of what you're going to see on this test. Now, the TOEFL used to have 6 parts, but today it is now just 4 parts on speaking. So they used to have 2 independent tasks and then 4 integrated tasks. Well, now it's 1 and 3. So that's one difference I think they changed that last year or the year before. So that makes it a little bit shorter, a little bit easier. So let's talk about what those tasks are. So the independent task is basically the same as an essay prompt. The text that they give you is almost identical to what they would give you for writing part 2. It's a type of question where you're going to get sort of an either or situation. Do you believe this or this? And you're going to have to, explain your opinion, use some examples, and there you go. That's basically all you got to do. So that would be kind of the way that goes. That's the easy one. You only have to talk for 45 seconds on that one. So it's a little faster. Then we've got the integrated ones. These are the ones that everybody hates. These have 60-second speaking time. So you are expected to talk a little more. And 2 of these will include a reading and listening task, and 1 will just include a listening task. So again, these are integrated because they're integrating different skills. You're going to read, listen, talk, right? Read, listen, talk, or just listen to a lecture and talk, okay? So those are the different parts that you're going to see on the test. Now, there is something extremely important that I need to give you people. I need to explain, okay? It's all about note taking. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to show you what I mean. Right here, this guy right here, this is going to be super important. Let me just see if I can. Oh, see, it's funny. My graphics card thinks I shouldn't show this to you there. Now I can see that you can see it. Whiteboard. You're going to want one of these. If you are taking the TOEFL at home, which is something a lot of people are doing these days, you will need somewhere to take notes, and it cannot be something permanent. Okay? Cannot be a piece of paper, cannot be permanent markers. It needs to be something you can actually erase between sections of the test. There will be a person that will ask to see that you have erased your notes after you're done with a section of the test. So listening, speaking, what have you. So it's very important that you have this with you. If you go to the TOEFL center, you will want to maybe ask them what their policies are, because different centers can have different policies as for how you can take notes. But this is the thing. You need to be using some kind of note-taking tools. I cannot stress this enough. If you do not take notes on this test, you are going to get a bad grade. It's that simple. If you're not the type of person who usually takes notes, start practicing. Start getting into that mindset. I'm going to take some here, and it's going to be kind of hard for me to show you exactly what they are, but I'll try. I'll see if I can give you a little peek into my notes today so you can see what I'm doing with those. The main idea with note taking is just so that we can keep track of what's going on in the audios, because you're going to have to sort of re-explain or discuss what you just heard in those audios. So you got to keep all that information, and it's not going to fit in your brain. Your short-term memory is not going to be good enough for this. So you're going to have to, take some notes, keep a record of what you heard so that you can develop your own speech. And also, this will be helpful for planning your speaking, because they do allow you a little bit of time to think about what you want to say. And in that time, you may also write some ideas so that you can keep yourself organized, and you can refer to this stuff while you talk. So not only are the notes going to help you understand the content better and hopefully reproduce it better, but they're also going to give you some tools that can help you organize your speaking. So we definitely want to take notes. If there's one thing that I can tell you, it is that, my people. And if you got any questions about the test, holler at the chat or say hello. It's always nice to hear from chat. Got it popped open here, so say what's up. Now, the planning time, on that note about what we should be doing here, is I want to try to write down some keywords that I'm going to use in my speech or my little discourse. And that comes into play a lot when we get into some of the later ones, but even in the very first task, the very first independent task, I think that's an important thing to do, just to organize yourself. And so the last thing you want on this test is to be stuck trying to figure out what you want to say next. If you start talking and then you freeze in the middle and go, and you just wasted 5 or 6 seconds, it's going to bring your grades down. I'm going to show you guys the rubrics later too, so you can see what I mean. The speaking part really depends on fluency, and that means you got to keep it moving. You want to always be talking. You only have up to a minute, so you can't afford to have a lot of dead space in that minute. There's not a lot of tolerance for you sitting there thinking about what you want to say. That brings your grade down. And so it's really important to organize and use that planning time to just quickly get your ideas in order. And I'm going to show you how I would do that as well. Okay. So we're going to start out with an independent task, because that's what the test starts out with. I'm going to give you an example. This one, we don't actually need any audio or anything for, because it's just a text prompt, and I took a screenshot and it should be fine. So I'm going to also pull up my timer, which I should point out that you probably won't be seeing this all the time, because I'm doing this PowerPoint presentation. This thing won't stay on top. And so I'm just going to kind of move it over here for now. But you can always see, of course, there's a timestamp in the video. So I'm going to adhere to the time, but it probably won't be on the screen here all the time, because it's going to be a mess alt-tabbing back and forth. So for this task, I would have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to speak. And I'm going to just show you real quickly what I'm going to do here. So my plan is very simple. I want to state my opinion. What do I think based on the question they give me? And then I want to give 2 reasons. Now, the reason I say 2 reasons is that I don't think you have enough time to really develop 3 ideas. Idea development is also an important thing to understand in TOEFL. We don't want to try to just say 15 different ideas and not develop any of them. Conversely, I think 1 won't fill the time enough. So I feel like 2 is a really good number for the independent task. 2 reasons that I can develop. And by develop, I mean I need to explain why I believe those reasons. I need to maybe give an example of those reasons so that it's really clear that this is what I think and this is why. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have our opinion, 2 reasons, and develop each reason with a little more, a little bit of a logic, a little bit of an argument, maybe an example if we have time for it. Okay. So that is the strat. So it's going to pop up here in a second. And if you're at home and you want to follow along and try this as well, Feel free to like pause me and give it your best shot, or wait till I'm done, whatever you want. But this is a tool for you as well. This is a practice test, so feel free to use it. I'll be timestamping this as well in the future, so we'll make sure we're nice and organized. You know, I'm actually going to try to be smart today and like take notes on that right now, so that I know what time this. Yeah, we're like almost right around 10 minutes in, so perfect. Is part 1. There we go. I'm being smart today. It's a rarity. I don't do that all that often. All right, let's do this thing. So, timer's ready to go. Here we go. Some people think that family members are the most important influence on young adults. Others believe that friends are the most important influence. Which do you agree with? Explain why. Okay, I'm starting my timer for 15 seconds of prep. Okay, that was 15 seconds, so now I got to start talking. All right, 45 seconds on the clock. Here we go. I believe that family members are the most important influence on young people. I think there's 2 very clear reasons why. Number 1 is the amount of time that they spend together, and 2 would be the proximity or the closeness between family members and the person being influenced. Regarding time, your family spends more time with you than anybody else. Like, they've been with you from your birth, and they will be around you every day of your life. And so that means they can have a much greater influence on you than anyone else. And when it comes to proximity, they are closer to you, right? You trust your family inherently. They are your blood. They are your relatives. They're supposed to have your best interests. So you never know for sure if other people are always acting in your best interest, but you do know that your family is. All right, that was 45 on the dot. That was solid. Yeah, I have my do not disturb on, so it didn't beep on me, unfortunately for you guys. I would like it to beep for you, but yeah, that was 45 seconds. Now, just looking at, let's see real quick if we can just. I think I might have muted my NVIDIA output here. Sorry about that. I was just explaining my thing here. I just erased it. So that might have been an oops. My bad. Anyway, what I was saying is just like the idea here is to develop these reasons in that time that I have. So my reasons were time and proximity. I decided to just focus on those 2. I gave them each about 15 seconds of time. That plus my intro was good enough. You don't really need a conclusion here. You don't have enough time for that, so don't worry about it. All right, let's get back to here. Yeah, we're good, right? Yeah, we're good. Okay. So what we're going to do now is move into the more complex ones, the integrated tasks, okay? So when I get an integrated task that has a reading, there's some things we got to do. First, understand what the reading is for. The readings are there to establish the context or define key terms. Like if I get, there's generally 2 types that we have to worry about. So there's item number 2, the second speaking task, will be a conversation between 2 university students generally. And in that conversation, they're reacting to some news, something that has happened. And that's what the text is about. The text is giving me the context of their conversation. It's going to let me know what they're talking about and why. And then when I listen, I'll be able to, focus on the points from that text and see how they were responded to in the audio. and that's what they're going to ask me to explain. So it all comes together. It's very important that you look at that text and understand what it's for. Like, what are they trying to help me understand? And we'll see more specifically how to use them in each type of item. Item 3 is a lecture, but you get a reading before the lecture. Now, the reading in that case is generally going to be a term, like a key term or concept that the teacher is trying to explain. So you're getting a sort of definition of that term in the reading. And then in the lecture, the professor is going to give you some more explanation of it. He's going to give you some examples or explain how he's experienced this thing. So in both cases, the reading is really important to helping us understand the audio. But remember this, you are not being asked to talk about the reading. You're being asked to talk about the audio. So you should not reference the text in the like when you're recording. Don't waste your time with that. The text is there to set you up for the audio, which is going to determine your response. So just keep that in mind. The reading itself is not that important for your audio, for your speaking. The part that's important is the audio you listen to. So the last thing I want to point out is with these ones that have a reading, you get 30 seconds of prep time, and you also have separate reading time. So they will indicate how much reading time you get, and then you will have this prep time after you hear the audio. So that's what we're going to demonstrate in just a second here. Okay. Sorry, I've been a little coffee today. I had a little pate this weekend. I did a number on my lungs. All right. So in this next slide, what I'm going to show you guys is the reading. I'm going to take the time for the reading, and then I may also take some notes on this reading. We'll see, just to think about key ideas or key phrases that might be really important. All right, 45 seconds on the clock. Go. This is the police department. Okay, I got about 10 seconds left, but I am going to actually give you a little feedback on what I'm working on right now with my notes here and kind of what I'm thinking. So there are basically 2 key benefits that they mention here. They talk about developing leadership and organizational skills that you wouldn't learn in a classroom. And then they also establish that you would form relationships with a company, right? So those are the main points in the reading. And I'm going to expect that this audio is going to refute those points. Almost always, that's what happens here. Like in almost every case, the audio is going to reject the text. There are exceptions to this. Sometimes it supports the text, but in most cases, it's going to reject it. But what I'm trying to do here is just identify very quickly what are those main ideas. And so when I see that it's like, okay, there's this 1 semester of work experience with these 2 proposed benefits, right? Or 2 reasons. And I want to listen for those. So to listen for those, we're going to just tone down our audio here for a second because we have the audio right here in a rather bizarre fashion. So enjoy. I'll actually turn this up a little bit for you guys. Turn up my desktop audio so you guys can hear this better.
Did you read this announcement?
Yeah. And I disagree. I don't think it will actually help students.
Really? Why not?
Well, they talked about leadership and organizational skills, but that's not really the kind of work you do. Like my older brothers had the kind of jobs they're talking about, and typically you're just there to do basic tasks like typing or filing stuff, nothing very meaningful.
Oh, so you wouldn't actually learn anything new?
Exactly.
I guess I see what you mean, but what about the other point they make?
About this helping us after we graduate? I don't agree.
How come?
Well, the problem is that there are lots of other universities in our area that have the same requirement. So there are lots of other students at these positions.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of that.
So even if you take a position like this in a company while you're still a student, once you graduate, the competition for permanent jobs will be impossible. I mean, there just won't be enough jobs available for all the business graduates in this city who will be looking for full-time work.
I see what you're saying.
The woman expresses her opinion of the university's new policy. State her opinion and explain the reasons she gives for holding that opinion.
All right, there we go. So Microsoft read the audio. So I don't think that's copyright now. All right. So again, I'm going to start doing my speaking in a second here, but I'm trying to walk you through this first one a little bit. I want to take a moment to go back to my notes. So here's what we've got. Let me see if I can show you this a little better. If I like get up in here, maybe if it sees me. No, yeah, whatever. Anyway, or we could just go camera 2. Hang on, I'm still finishing my audio here. I'm sorry, I'm not as organized as I should be today. Yeah, that should be better. That should be working now. Okay, there we go. So let's go back to this. Yeah. Sorry, I did a bunch of configurations and forgot to set up my scenes. So yeah, I started with this stuff up here, which is just my what I saw in the reading that I wanted to listen for. And then as soon as I got into the audio, she actually used these same phrases. She said leadership and organizational skills word for word. So I was able to really quickly identify what she said about that over here. And then I've got my notes on that and what she said about the relationships part that they made, the idea about you getting a job more easily. So let's go back. So I'm going to prepare my speaking now that I've got this already done here. I'm going to just jump into it because I kind of know what I'm going to do here. All right. And I'm going to use my board to help me out. And so you'll see right now speaking 60 seconds now. I'm going to change my timer to go. Okay. So the woman in the audio was reacting to some news from her state university that said every student would have to do 1 semester of work experience with a local business. And she does not agree with the benefits that they claim this will have. She thinks, first of all, that it's not going to teach you anything new. They think it will be beneficial for learning leadership and organizational skills. But she says that her brothers have worked in these situations, and typically you're getting a very low entry level job that is not going to teach you advanced leadership skills or organizational skills. You're going to be doing very basic tasks that anybody could do. The other thing the university claims is that you will have an easier time finding a job after you graduate. And she also says that's not true because most of the universities are also doing this. And so if everybody's doing it, that means there's a lot of students that are going to have the same connections. It's going to have a lot of competition, and there just won't be enough jobs for everybody. Boom, right there. Just finished. You'll love to see it. Okay, so I'm trying to make sure that I include I'm not talking about the reading, but I am establishing the context of this conversation and explaining what she is refuting and giving her reasons for why. So I mentioned her older brothers were an example. I mentioned that, she said there would be not enough jobs. And so I've covered those points. I think we're looking pretty good on that. So we're going to get to the next one now. All right. So the next slide here is the one where we're going to have a lecture, and I'm going to have this key concept that they're going to explain with the reading. So we'll start there. Okay. 50 seconds, the establishing shot. I'm going to wipe off my board real quick. I'm not looking at it. I'm trying to be as honest as possible. All right. I know this is far from official, but I'm doing the best I can. It's been a busy day. All right. Timer on. Okay. Okay, I think I've read through this and I have it all pretty clear. I'm going to go straight through and just do this one, and then we'll talk about it after. So let's go and hear the audio.
So, the other day I went to this great new movie. And one of the scenes in particular, I thought, was really set up nicely. At the start of the scene, before the action and talking and things started, you saw, on the movie screen, an image of a city. You could tell it was a big city, there were lots of buildings, tall ones, skyscrapers. And the cars and signs on the city streets looked old-fashioned, like they were from the past, like the 1940s. The other thing I noticed right away, from this first image, just when the scene started, was that the city seemed, gloomy. You couldn't see much because it was, well, there was mostly darkness rather than sunlight, and there was only just a little bit of light from the street lamps. On top of that, it was raining, and kind of foggy. All of these details worked together to create a dark, gloomy, mysterious feeling. So, then, when the action started, and it showed detectives talking to each other in an office, I already knew that the office was located in a tall building in a big city, sometime in the 1940s, and I, had a good idea that the events that'd be taking place would be pretty dark and mysterious, because of the shot, the image, I saw at the beginning of the scene. Using the professor's example, explain what an establishing shot is and how it is used.
All right. So I have 30 seconds to prep this. I think I pretty much have it figured out. I'm going to start in a second. Oh. All right. So 60 seconds on the clock, and we're just going to do this thing. Let's go. Okay, so an establishing shot is a shot in a film that establishes a few things about the subsequent scene. In particular, it establishes the context or the setting of the scene, which is where and when we are. And the professor gave us a good example of this in the movie that he saw. He said that the establishing shot showed a wide angle view of a big city with lots of skyscrapers, and there were signs and cars that looked like they were from another time, like the 1940s. So just because he had that opening shot, that establishing shot, he was able to know that all the events in the story are taking place in the past and that they're taking place in a big city. Likewise, the mood is something else that was important here. The mood was gloomy and dark, kind of rainy, foggy. And so because of that appearance of the city, it gave him a more suspenseful, a more tense introduction to the film than he maybe would have had with A Sunny Day. All right. That was 60 seconds. I'm not super proud of that one. I think I could have done better. I think it took a little too long getting to the point about the mood. I want to show you what I wrote. So, yeah. So up here we got the establishing shot. Again, the stuff on the left here is just what I wrote from the reading. And I try to match it up. If you notice what I did there, like with content and setting, I'm basically trying to attach that to the skyscrapers and cars and all that other stuff. So that I make the connections when I speak. And then the mood part, I wrote down a bunch of the words he used and where he finished with the detectives in the office. See, I didn't quite get to that in mine, and I think maybe that would be a slightly negative point. I feel like I should be covering his ideas a little bit faster there. I think I maybe spent a little bit too much time defining establishing shot. I do think you need to do that, though. You want to open with a clear definition of what that term or concept is, because that's showing the people that you understood the content. And then you get into the examples. And if you cover his examples well, I do think I covered his examples. I don't think I missed any data that was really important. So I think that's good. But, you know, there's a balance there to strike between, you know, just talking about the concept, which is in the reading, and then talking about his examples. And I maybe went too far into the reading on that one, to be honest. So I think I might want to try to just focus a little bit more on his examples in that case. It's tough with a minute. You know, it's tough. I'll be honest. That's why it's really important for you guys to practice. If you're preparing for this test, I strongly encourage you to practice speaking for 60 seconds. Like, just get your timer on your phone, go stand in front of the mirror and try to talk about anything, pick a topic, talk about it for 60 seconds. Do that over and over. As soon as the timer beeps, stop talking, repeat, go right back to it. Do it again. If you do that 5 or 6 times a day, takes you less than 10 minutes, I guarantee you're going to get better at this because you will have more of an internal clock that's going to tell you when it's time to say this or when it's time to say that, when it's time to transition from an idea. You've spent too much time on this idea. I kind of have that in me because I've done a lot of public speaking in my life, and I'm pretty good at knowing when it's time to shut up on a test, not in real life, but so something to keep in mind. Now we're going to go to the last one of these, and this last one is just audio only. So again, just note taking is important here. We're going to listen to this professor's lecture and then try to answer the question about it, which is just going to basically ask us to repeat a lot of the information. This is the final task of the speaking portion. Let me make sure we're, okay.
We all know that insects like to eat plants. But some plants have been able to develop ways to protect themselves from insects. Today I'm gonna talk about some ways plants defend themselves. Now, some plants have physical features that prevent insects from landing on them. Like the passion plant, for example. Its leaves have little spiky hairs all over them. They're like spikes, sticking out of the plant, that are so numerous and dense that they prevent insects from landing on the leaves. Basically, there's just no room for the insect to land. And since insects can't land on the leaves, they can't eat them. So, the little hairs serve as a physical feature that helps protect the passion plant from insects. Alright, but other plants protect themselves using chemical defenses. Like the potato plant. The potato plant's able to release a chemical throughout its leaf system whenever an insect attacks it starts eating the leaf. So, say an insect starts eating a potato plant's leaf. That will cause the plant to react by releasing a chemical throughout its leaf system. The insect swallows this chemical as it eats. And this chemical discourages the insect from wanting to eat any more of the plant. How? Well, the substance makes the insect feel full, like it's already had enough to eat. The insect no longer feels hungry. So it stops eating the plant. So, by emitting this chemical, the potato plant protects itself from insects. Using points from the lecture, explain how the passion plant and the potato plant defend themselves from insects.
Okay. Using points from the lecture, explain how these two plants, protect themselves from insects. Okay. I think I got this. That was a little tricky to follow. It was going pretty fast. I did that intentionally to try to make this a little bit harder, but I think we got it under control. Let's set our timer for 60 seconds and give it our best shot. All right. So in the lecture, the professor explains two different ways that plants like the passion plant and the potato plant are able to defend themselves against insects, which are a natural predator of these plants. The one way is physical. The passion plant has spiky hairs all over its stems and branches, and the leaves, which make it difficult for the insect to actually land on the plant because there's no space for it to land there. So that effectively keeps insects from eating the plant. The other way that the potato plant uses is a chemical method where it produces a chemical inside of its cells. And if an insect starts eating, let's say, part of the leaf, then it will absorb that chemical, and that chemical reduces the appetite of the insect. It makes it think that it's already full. And so because of that, it will stop eating it, and that will protect the plant. So those are the two ways that the professor explained. Right on the dot. Right on the dot. You'll love to see it. Look where I stopped it. I stopped it right there. It's got that little bit right there. Okay, that's essentially the way you want to do it right there, my people. That one was good. So again, I'll show you my notes so you can see what I did here. We've got this. So I did plants versus insects. I kind of like right away heard that. I wrote physical and started trying to follow the story, right? It's passion plant, spiky hairs, can't land. That was the insects. And then when she got to the chemical ones, I was like, okay, potato plant, eat a leaf, stops the appetite, feels full, and I figure out the rest, right? So I just tried to grab those main ideas and explain them as best as I could. And I think that everything went pretty well on that one. So just to recap a little bit of what we're talking about here. So you've got these 4 different types of speaking tasks. You got 2 general categories, the independent and the integrated tasks. Integrated tasks are going to have a reading, which you're going to want to analyze a little bit and try to find some key points that you can use to make the audio easier. The last one is all audio, and you're not going to get any context. So you have to be ready to go. You have to be ready. Like right away, she jumped right in with the plants and insects thing. Didn't give me a lot of time to catch up to what we were talking about. So while the question for that is a little more explicit because it actually said passion plant and potato plant, I got to be on my A game for that last task. That's why it's one of the last ones. It's kind of supposed to be the hard one because you don't have that context. With the other ones, use that reading to set up the audio, to prepare yourself to do to take notes and think, okay, what should I be listening for? I wrote down leadership and organizational skills. And when the girl said that, I knew I had the answer and I was able to give a pretty good response on that one. Time management, make sure that we explain the context, we explain any key terms that we need to, but we also need to focus on the audio. Make sure we stay clearly in the audio and not just repeat a lot of stuff that was already in the text. Something I maybe could have done better on the third one. For the personal ones, remember you only have time for 2 reasons. 45 seconds, that's all you're going to get. So make them count. And that, my people, is our TOEFL speaking workshop for today. That is all I got going on. We've got some cool stuff coming out. I would love it if you guys would subscribe to the channel. If it's your first time here, thank you for being here. If it's not your first time here, thank you for being here also, for coming back. We're going to be doing some cool stuff. So I got a how to study in another country video coming out this Thursday. I got a very cool project that I've been working on for the last couple weeks that's going to be coming out after that about Peruvian education and in a greater sense, global education issues. Just a little kind of one of my rabbit holes, but I think it's going to be cool. I think you're going to like it. So thank you guys for stopping by and have a good night.